How would you like to get more feed per hectare and per megalitre? Reduce your feed costs, better utilise pasture, increase milk production and improve the condition of your cows? Well, perhaps now's the time to consider introducing maize silage into your herd's feed program, because maize silage offers dairy farmers many important benefits in a number of key areas.
The main benefit is feeding our cows. That's the reality. That's why we grow it.
I'd like to have enough maize to have it in the diet every day of the year for the cows.
It's got good energy and good fibre, and as a result of that I can mix it and match it with a number of other feeds to provide my cows sort of 10 months of the year with a balanced ration.
Low water allocations in recent dry years have caused farmers to focus on production per hectare and per megalitre. Maize silage gives you twice the production per megalitre compared to perennial pastures.
In fact, research conducted by Dr. John Moran of the Department of Primary Industries at Kyabram has demonstrated the high yields and water efficiency available from maize silage.
Maize will yield, say, 18 to 20 tonne of dry matter per hectare over a 5 months growing season. In that same time, pasture will probably only yield about 6 to 8 tonne, and they both use a similar amount of water. So you're looking at a much greater efficiency of converting irrigation water into forage. You're still looking at probably double the amount of utilised feed energy per megalitre of irrigation water with a maize crop than with a grazed pasture.
Dairy farmer Dean Leslie of Arcadia milks 500 cows and has been growing and using maize since 1994. He averages 30 litres of milk per cow per day.
We try and aim for around 20 tonne of dry matter per hectare. We have done a bit better, we're around the 21, 22. But if I get over 17, I'm happy. I know I've made money at that. We allow for about 6 megalitres to the hectare under the pivot, and depending on the year, if we go into the year with subsoil moisture, well, it could be a bit less, but work on around that 6 to 7, I suppose, to be fair.
Ian Hamino of Stanhope started growing maize in a small way 5 years ago, and now uses it as part of the ration 10 months of the year. He milks over 500 cows and puts in 20 hectares of maize each season.
I usually work on about 18 tonnes dry matter a hectare. I grow my maize on the flat because I'm a dairy farmer and I don't have a lot of time for beds or rows or anything like that. I grow it flat. I try to prepare my soil as smooth as I can. I harrow it, I roll it, basically so the water runs off. I don't like puddling, and if I can get 18 tonnes, I'm quite happy.
Milk production can be increased by better balancing the ration with maize silage. The maize component complements quality pastures and grain concentrates to provide a better balanced ration and increase milk production.
Keith Pankhurst of Tongala milks 500 cows. He has grown maize on farm in the past and last season bought maize silage from a contract grower.
We're just so comfortable with maize. It's just such a good base for us. It allows us to feed it to any number of stock on the farm, whether they be dry stock, coming into milk, freshening, in our lead feeding programs, peaking cows during lactation, and getting condition on cows towards drying off. So that's the sort of flexibility it gives us. We know it's a very consistent source of energy and fibre, and then we can tailor the diet based around that consistent base. In our position with annual pastures, they're very, very digestible for the whole growing period. So we need to match up that high digestibility with some very, very digestible fibre. And once again, maize comes into its own there. The mix looks good, feels good, nice and open to the cows, presents well to them. They can nuzzle into it, just works well all round.
Fits in really good as far as balancing a ration because you've got a high energy functional fibre, a lot of tonnes, and that fits into either grazing our pasture, which hopefully in the winter time is high protein, or it is high protein, or our spring cut silage, which is a high protein fodder. For your fresh cows, you get a lot of milk out of it, and then for your staler cows, you keep condition on cows.
It provides an energy dense ration and it's got adequate fibre. It's low on protein, or lower than dairy cows need for protein. That used to worry me when I first started growing it, but now I've been able to manage my way around that by growing other quality annual pastures and subclover pastures that I can mix with the maize.
The high energy, lower protein aspects of maize silage make it the ideal partner for high protein feeds.
Maize is high in energy, it's got good fibre levels, but it's low in protein. And dairy cows need a lot of protein, and so the better the quality of the pasture you're feeding, the more maize you can feed with it. As farmers become more intensive in their systems, as they vary their calving pattern, they've got to have flexibility. And maize offers this flexibility because it provides energy, it provides fibre, and as long as the protein is addressed with the pasture, it fits in really well. Maize is the only forage that doesn't deteriorate in quality as it gets older, because as the crop grows and matures, you get more and more grain in the cob, and that offsets the increasing fibre and decreasing quality of the stalk and the leaf.
Maize can be grown on farm or contract grown to provide a competitively priced energy source, even when commodity prices are low. This can reduce the amount of grain purchased for the dairy.
It works out at about around $110 a tonne. That's everything. The whole water, fuel, chopped, rolled, the whole inoculant, everything. That's what it will work out. If it comes back to, if you had a disaster and it was sort of 15 tonne to the hectare, well, it might blow out to 125, but it's still a pretty reasonable crop.
It costs me about $90 a tonne dry matter. That's to grow it, to harvest it and to cover it. That's in the stack, plus the cost of water. If in a normal year I use water at water right prices, it works out to be about $110 or $115 a tonne.
Introducing maize silage into your system doesn't have to be complicated or expensive, and it can be done in stages. Many farmers trial a smaller paddock in the first year and then increase the acreage as they work out how maize silage fits in with their ration.
You probably worry about trying to grow a good crop, but it's easier than you think it is, and as long as you keep the water and nutrients up to it, then it's pretty. I find it pretty easy. So,
if you do the basics right, you do it properly, it generally goes okay. You sort of can't afford to cut corners. I guess it's a bit like milking a cow, and that you've got to, if you feed it well with fertiliser and water and all that, it'll go okay.
To ensure the highest yields possible, careful planning of your maize crop with your local agronomist is vital. Working closely with a reputable contractor will help you achieve the best results from your crop.
And once harvested, looking after your stack correctly will ensure you get the highest feed value and reduce your stack losses.
It's like making a cake. You've got to have all the ingredients, you've got to have the right amount, and you've got to do it right. But equally, it's a terrific crop to grow. I get a real buzz out of it.
Look, it's a recipe crop. Stick to the recipe and you'll have success.
An added advantage of using maize silage as part of your herd's feed management system is the positive benefits it brings to herd health.
Dairy veterinarian Dr. Stephen Little explains how maize fits into the overall feeding program.
Well, I think it's got a critical role to play now and in the future. As we chase higher production levels per cow, and as farms become more intensive, we're less reliant on grazed pasture and more reliant on conserved feeds. And corn silage has got some great features as a conserved forage because it's got such a high grain content. it's got a very complementary role with other forages and grain supplements that are fed in the dairy itself.
And what does it do for cow condition and for cow health as well?
Well, your maize silage, because we're sort of looking at 40 or 50% grain content, it's going to be quite high in energy. It's probably going to be about at least 10 megajoules. It's not so great in terms of its protein content. But as an energy source, it's a great conditioning feed for later lactation cows and for dry cows, particularly. Provided that we match it up nutritionally with some higher protein supplements as well, so that we meet the cow's needs.
And does it improve cow fertility?
Insofar as we can use it as a tool to manage body condition in cows later on in the lactation, such that we dry them off and then calve them again in our ideal body condition. Yes, it is an important tool for fertility, yeah.
And how does it work in actually reducing the risk of bloat, which is such a huge problem for a lot of people?
Well, because it's got, provided we get the chop length right, which in this case we've got that pretty right, we're providing not only a source of grain but also a source of functional fibre, and that's going to help us maintain a stable rumen environment for the cow.
It's important to balance maize silage in the dairy ration. This can be accomplished with the use of high protein feed sources that ideally would include lucerne.
Maize silage and lucerne are very complementary in terms of their nutritional profiles, and they really work very well together, whether that's lucerne silage or lucerne hay or lucerne just grazed by the cows. Lucerne's very high in protein, maize silage is low in protein. Maize silage is high in energy, lucerne's a little bit lower in energy. They're both fibre-wise, they're not too high in fibre, so the cow can consume a lot of it. So yeah, they work really well together. It's a good energy source. It means we're not entirely reliant on cereal grains per se in the dairy as our means of balancing up the diet to meet the animal's energy requirements. So we can spread ourselves between what we feed in the dairy and what we feed outside the dairy. And that, provided we're able to meet the cow's nutrient requirements for protein, energy, minerals and everything else, that's to the benefit of the rumen and the cow. If it means that we're not getting the spikes of rumen pH from having excessive amounts of grain and not enough buffering capacity, then yeah, maize silage can be part of the management system, if you like.
The dairy industry now recognises the many benefits of maize silage. Maize silage complements quality pasture and high energy concentrates to increase milk production. It gives you more production per megalitre of water, it reduces your feed costs and leads to an overall increase in your profit margin.
As time goes on, we're becoming less and less reliant on grazed pasture because we're chasing production per cow and we're chasing production per hectare. And maize silage, because we can grow so much of it, it's a very economical forage for us.
Pioneer is world leader in the field of maize seed production and is committed to working with Australian dairy farmers to maximise their business potential. Not only is Pioneer seed quality and plant genetics of the very highest standard, you're backed with technical and agronomical support that the company has become so well regarded for right throughout the agricultural industry.
Seed quality is extremely important. You only get one opportunity to get the seed in the ground. And if you haven't got a proven hybrid and with good backup, you're wasted the whole year.
Pioneer's goal for the Australian maize program is to deliver the best possible hybrids for Australian conditions. For dairy farmers and silage producers, that means delivering hybrids that deliver high tonnage and high quality silage. Feed quality is just as important as the tonnage you get from your field. Pioneer is committed to the Australian dairy industry and silage producers. That's why we follow up sales of our seed with in-field service and support and training and field days to ensure that every grower gets the best possible result in terms of yield
and ability from every bag of Pioneer seed he sows. We're committed to the Australian dairy industry and silage industry because we know their success is our success. And remember, the best crops start with the best seeds.